What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my world. And if you're someone like me, a devout IndyCar fan, this is one of those times of year where you're desperately looking forward to. Soon enough, we're going to get the 2019 schedule. And in this video, I'm going to predict what's gonna be in the schedule, what's not going to be in the schedule, what I would like the schedule to look like, and so on and so forth. So we are going to begin with St. Petersburg. Now, I think here's how it's going to work. I'm going to be drawing an X, a red X, or a green check, or a yellow stripe, depending on what I think is going to happen and what I want to happen. So St. Petersburg has always been a pretty good fix to the schedule. So I mean, if it were for me, I would definitely want to keep this thing around. And in my opinion, it's gonna stick around because, like I said, it's St. Petersburg. They've been the season opener for IndyCar for a long time now. I think almost a decade or so. I can't really say for sure, but I think that one's going to stick around and continue its tradition as the first race of the season. Moving on, we're going to go to Phoenix, and that thing I would really like for it to stay, but unfortunately, due to low crowds and all that, it is not going to stay. So Phoenix is definitely out of the schedule for 2019 for sure, and that's a bit unfortunate. I'm going to get rid of this real quick. That is a bit unfortunate but then again, they were slacking a lot. If you ask me, the crowds were horrendous, and what I mean with horrendous, I'm saying like they were not. They didn't show up so much. So Phoenix is out, unfortunately. We won't get any of that anytime soon. Long Beach. Now that one, it has to stick around if it were for me, and it's gonna stick around because it's Long Beach. It's the most prestigious street race of the year, and here in North America, so that one's definitely sticking around for sure. Alabama, I mean, for me, I could go either way with this because, I mean, It's not for me. It's not the most exciting race ever, at least if you ask me. But it does attract some pretty good crowds, and when it does, the races can be pretty good. So I'd say that one's gonna stick around for sure. Next is the IndyCar Grand Prix, and okay, I'm gonna be frank here. This one has to go. If it were for me, it has to go because that race is boring. It sucks. The crowds are really really horrendous when it comes to this race. There almost no one shows up to this one, and this one just has to go, like straight up. But what can replace the Grand Prix, the IndyCar Grand Prix of Indianapolis? I'd say I don't know. Go to Lucas Oil Raceway. They got a little track over there. Some of the lower series leading up to IndyCar, they go over there. You could try that. But sadly, because it's in Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I feel like this race is going to stick around. I wish it didn't because it's really boring and just bad race overall. And it's meant to create hype for the Indy 500, and it's just not doing that. But speaking of the Indy 500, yeah, two checks. That one's basically guaranteed. And I'm going to just scroll up to replace Phoenix. What could replace Phoenix? Because Phoenix is a short oval. I'd say probably Richmond because NASCAR they're pulling in some good crowds. The racing is pretty decent at Richmond. I'd say IndyCar should return to Richmond to replace Phoenix because Phoenix, like I said, they barely pulled in any crowds, and I think Richmond would do better at that. Oh, next up we have Detroit, and that one, if it were me, I would cross out both races straight off because this track is just like the IndyCar Grand Prix. Boring, horrible, it sucks. And in fact, it shouldn't even be on the schedule for 2019 because there's a whole lot of local opposition against it. But again, Team Penske, what can I say? So I have a feeling that one's going to stick around. Then we're off to Texas. And that one, I don't know, my guys. This race, I could go either way. You know, like I feel like it could stick around. I feel like it probably will stick around if you ask me. So I'm gonna give this one a second green check. But honestly, if it were me, I could go either way because if it doesn't end up in the schedule, I really won't care. You know, there's always COTA, Circuit of the Americas, over in Austin, Texas. So I could go either way with this race, but I feel like it's gonna stick around. Now, Road America. This one, it gets two checks. It's a really good race overall. The racing's been awesome. The crowds have been really good. So I feel like Road America should definitely stick around. Iowa, this one, how can I resume this one? It's a good thing that they're returning it tonight to a Saturday night race, so I'm going to give it a right check. But then if you ask me, I think I feel like I'm probably being a little generous, but I'm gonna give it another green check because it's a good race, But then again, the night when it was in day racing, it kind of sucked. It's a good thing they're bringing it back to night racing for sure. The Honda Indy Toronto is next, and this one, if it were up to me, it's gone. It is straight up gone. It's not. It's not a really exciting race, in all honesty. However, I feel like it probably will stick around if I can load up my pens. I feel like this race will stick around for the next season because it is second. It is pretty much Canada's version of the Grand Prix of Long Beach, considering that they've been racing there for over 30 years. It's the second longest standing race in the schedule outside Long Beach, and then the longest being, of course, the Indy 500. So, but if it were up to me, I'd get rid of Toronto and replace it with the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, which really produces great racing, if you ask me. Or you could go to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, who said you couldn't race at a Formula One track. I mean, just ask Coda. And then we've got the Honda Indy 200, straight up gone. This race is out. Wait, actually, no, I'm being too mean. Nah, I'm not gonna say this race is gone. I feel like I may have exaggerated things a little bit, but what I don't think I'm exaggerating is that I could go either way with this race because it's not the most exciting race ever, but you know, it's been a pretty good staple to the series for a while, so that one's gonna stick around. However, if it does stick around, I really feel like they should add IMSA to team up with it. They do this in Long Beach, and it really works out super well. So I say kind of do something like that in Ohio. I feel like that wouldn't be too bad. And then the ABC Supply 500. Bro, how can I emphasize this? Recently, this race has just been blasted by something bad going on. So this one's getting a really crooked, but able to tell it. You can tell it's going to be an X. I have part of that, but we've got so this one. But I feel like it's going to stick around, even despite the fact that Robert Wickens had a really rough, like horrendous crash yesterday. I feel like this race is going to stick around because it basically forms one of only two 500-mile races in the schedule. But I mean, if you ask me, we should add a third. Next, we've got Gateway Motorsport Park in Madison, Illinois. This one I'm giving 2 checks. I feel like it's going to stick around, and even if it were for me, it would stick around because this race is really, really good. The racing was spectacular last year. In fact, that's their next stop next Saturday night. It's going to be one heck of a race with the new cars and everything, and the crowds are awesome. I think it almost sold out. But if you look at the footage from last year's race, there's people even at the bottom aisle where the seats where basically almost no one else goes to. I feel like Madison, Illinois will stick around, and it really should. It's been awesome. And next up, we have the Grand Prix of Portland. Speaking of the Grand Prix of Portland, you guys, be sure to stick around for my channel because guess what? Guess who's going to the Grand Prix of Portland? I'm going to give it a blue circle because I will be vlogging from Portland next week. Not this coming week, but the next. So I'll be over there. And okay, I'm a younger fan, so I don't know too much about this track. But the fans, the older fans, they really like it. So I mean, I'll give it a check, and then I'll probably give it another check because, well, actually, no, I'm not gonna give it another check. I'm rather just gonna give it a yellow line because, like I said, I'm a younger fan, and then again, we'd have to see how this year's edition of the Grand Prix of Portland turns out before it actually ends up on the schedule. And speaking of which, I think I may have made a mistake. No, my bad. Oops. Oopsie. That's my bad, you guys. But yeah, so yeah, those are pretty much all of that. And yeah, so we got Madison getting 2 checks, this one getting a yellow line. But if this year's race turns out to be exciting, I'll be able to change this to a green check for sure. And then the Grand Prix of Sonoma. Oh, yes, this is where I get to just spam it. 1 X from me, 1 X for them. This race is not sticking around next week. So I'm telling you, it will not stick around. Thank God it isn't. But anyways, guys, that is all for today. This is actually just part 1. I'll get to part 2 in another video and go more in depth about this. But anyways, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like the videos, subscribe to the channel, stick around, and of course, my Portland vlogs. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.